Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It's nice to be back here in Salinas. It's been quite a long time. I don't think the YouTube counts, so it's been a very, very long time. Matter of fact, I think this is my first service that I've done with people here ever, so pretty excited to be here. I would first like to say Happy Mother's Day to all the moms. I hope you guys have a great day for Mother's Day today. If you please join me in Gassho for this morning's opening reading. Within self, myself finds recourse. Neglect myself, and to whom could I turn? Purity comes from within, and others cannot purify my heart. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. Thank you. Sutra chanting will begin with Sambo Jo on page 24, followed by Jusei Ge on page 90. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. Now, if you please rise and join me in the Gatha, the Namo Amida Butsu on page 240, followed by the threefold refuge on page 10. Yes. 220 for 240. I apologize. 240. Yes, I'm sorry. 240 for Namo Amida Butsu. Yes. Yes. My apologies. 174 for Namo Amida Butsu. I apologize. Turn to the threefold refuge on page 10. Difficult is it to receive a human form, now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the Dharma of the Buddha, now we hear it. If we do not cross over to the truth in the present life, in what life shall we cross over? Thus with sincerity and true reverence, take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we, together with all sentient beings, awaken to the great way of enlightenment and to the unsurpassed intent of Amida Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we, together with all sentient beings, enter the storehouse of the Dharma, becoming like the wisdom ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we, together with all sentient beings, become units of true accord and harmony with all things. The peerless, profound, and wondrous Dharma is rare to encounter, and even in many hundreds and thousands of kalpas, they were privileged to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Thagara's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. I apologize for my allergies this morning. Monterey has over by my house, it's a pretty nice allergy season stuff over there. And I apologize too for the hiccups this morning, the lateness and everything. But those are just challenges, and of course, we face challenges every day in life. The main thing is just that, kind of overcome them and continue on. So as I was saying, Happy Mother's Day. I think it's very important that we recognize all the moms in this world. I want to say a special thank you to my great-grandmother, my grandmother, my mom, and also my wife for being such amazing mothers to me and all my relatives, my brothers, and my kids, because without them, things, wouldn't really work out the way they did with me today. And I also want to say a special Happy Mother's Day to the mothers in Ukraine, those who have lost their lives, either protecting their families or those that have lost their lives as they actually battle for their country of Ukraine. So with that, it's really cool to be back over here. Like I said, I really have never been able to give a Dharma talk here in Salinas, except online, if I recall correctly. I know usually Nick comes over, and if you don't know who I am, I'm David Correia. I'm the administrative assistant for Monterey. Usually Nick comes over here. Congratulations to Nick. Nick is moving on to the Sheriff's Department, which I think is just really, really cool. So over in Monterey, I don't know, so where I live at is actually on the property. We rent a house that's like right next door. It's really neat. And with that being said, everything is more convenient to go there, do service. I do Shorinji Kempo, which is over also at Monterey, and also we get to assist, like making sure that the temple grounds are taken care of, and any issues that come up, we just handle it ourselves. So over the course of COVID, of course, I'm sure it's happened to a lot of temples where you just don't have the manpower to actually do everything that you want to do. The garden cleanups and all these other things over time because of just health concerns. So me and my daughter, before that, they actually did construction at the Monterey Temple, and they did these 2 bathrooms. They switched them around and made them brand new. And I don't know if you guys remember the old bathrooms that were there. They're just very small and falling apart. Now they look really, really cool. They're very nice bathrooms. I know it's weird to brag about a bathroom, but it is. Well, the problem with that is that it pretty much messed up the whole entire social hall. So here we have on the social hall floor just cakes and cakes and cakes of dirt and grime, and there's dust everywhere. There's dust on, Aikido does martial arts there too, so now there's dust on their equipment, and it's just completely everywhere. It's drifted over into the hondo, and it's just all over the carpet, everything. So we've tried to keep it up. Once they were done, we tried to wipe stuff down, but it just wasn't working. So me and my daughter are out in the social hall, and I'm looking at the floor, and I'm like, man, wouldn't that be cool? Here we are, we had spring break coming up, because I work for the school district. And so I was like, wow, 2 weeks. We get 2 weeks in Monterey. And I was like, wow, I got 2 weeks. What should we do? And I was like, how would you feel about, stripping the floor and making it like all brand new again? And she's like, oh, that would be cool. Because as someone who does Shorinji Kempo, we don't use mats. The floor is our mat. So keep in mind that if you get dropped to the ground and your face is against the floor, that's years and years and years. No matter how much mopping you do, that's years of teriyaki sauce that's on the floor, people's, dirt and grime, and then we're doing, martial arts on there. It's just gross, and she's like, oh, Dad, that would be so cool if we could do it. There's marks all over the floor. She's really dark and dirty. So I was like, all right, cool. And I'm thinking, because I'm used to being in the military, so we used to strip floors all the time. I think she has no idea what she's getting into. So I was like, you know what? I said, okay, cool. If we do this, we're going to start early. I'm going to hook you up. I'll buy you lunch. We'll get done really early. We're not going to get done early, but I have to fib to her because I'm a dad. That's what we have to do sometimes, right? So she, she's like, all right, cool. Let's do it, Dad. Wake up early in the morning, head to Home Depot, pick up all the equipment at 9:30. Head on out. Now, the way they do it now is so different from the way they used to do it in the military, but it's pretty much the same concept. So we get out there, I'm like, okay, you take care of the vacuuming the water up, I'll take care of everything else. So, we're mopping the floor, getting it just like built up, then we just start stripping the floor. We're going back and forth, and after a while, I'm like, wow, this is taking longer than I thought. So we're going back and forth, and as we're going, it's really gross. All this dark nastiness is coming up off the floor. It's just like this, it's even hard to describe. It's just so disgusting what is like we're stripping away from the floor. So, she's vacuuming, up the water, and I'm going back and back, and we're continuing. And after a while, we're like, oh man, this is so hard. My back starts hurting, my knees start hurting. Her knees are messed up from roller derby, so her knee starts hurting. So I'm like, we gotta keep going. We still have to apply the wax after we mop it again. So she's like, okay, cool, that's no problem. I said, look, I'll bribe you with, Starbucks and everything else. So I'm trying to bribe her as much as I can. I said, I will take care of you. Don't worry. So we keep going. So the whole floor is now stripped. It's now in the late afternoon. We're still a little behind schedule, and I look at this floor that had all these marks on it, all this stickiness and all this stuff on it. But now it was just a fresh floor. All that stuff was no longer there. I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. And Isabel was over here, my daughter Isabel, she's like, wow, Dad, all that stuff is gone. She was just like, it's like they installed a new floor in here. I'm like, yes, you're right. So now, let's go ahead and mop it, just make sure it's clean, and then we're going to start applying some wax on this floor. She's like, all right, cool. So we get out there, start mopping it, we're going, recognizing the time. My wife even brought us dinner to us now because we are now so late in the evening. Sun is already going down. I'm like, okay, I got to keep her motivated. We got music going, everything possible just to keep a high school kid motivated to do this floor. So we're going. Little did I know that her motivation is just seeing this floor change. I'm like, all right, Isabel, let's do the wax. So we start laying down the wax section by section. And as we do this, I start to notice that it's starting to shine and it's becoming pretty. And it no longer even looks like the floor that it was. I'm like, wow, this is so sweet. So we're going. Let's put another coat down. Start going. All right, one more. And she's barely handling. It's almost 9:30 at night now. So we've been doing this since 9:30 in the morning. And we're both exhausted. So I'm like, one more coat. We could do this. Go ahead, get the wax, mop it all down. And this floor is just amazing. I hate to say it, but I had never seen the floor like that. I've been living over there for, 7 years now. And in that time frame, we had always talked about stripping the floor, but it had never done. So I don't know how long it's been since the floor has looked the way it did. So as I'm standing there, I'm like, wow. I thought, so one thing that I always learned in life, especially in Buddhism, and Reverend Jay has always taught me, is to keep your eyes and your ears and your senses open. Because you never know what lessons are going to be coming towards you at that time. So as I'm standing there, I'm like, this in itself is a lesson as I'm looking at this. Here we have this floor. And all that stuff is gone. And I was thinking to myself, this is a good lesson. And I told my daughter, I'm like, you know what this tells you, Isabel? And she's like, what? I'm like, this reminds you that nothing is permanent in this world. Nothing. It's kind of weird. You think, oh, it's just a floor. Like, no, it's not. So it was a reminder to me that there can be beauty underneath that ugliness. So all we have to do is just realize that as long as we're willing to accept change, things can be so much better. Our change was the floor. But yet, in life, there can be so much more. We know that there's bad things that are going on in this world. We all have issues in our life. It doesn't matter who we are. We all suffer. That's part of who we are. But it's a matter of how much are you willing to accept that? Are you willing to accept that and kind of strip things away? So I'm going to tell you a quick story. This is about the Buddha. So there was this businessman who had a few kids. And this guy was really greedy, really rich. And one day he looks around and he's like, hey, where's the kids at? Oh, they went to go hear the Buddha talk. He's like, no. They need to be learning about money. They need to be learning about the business. That's what's important. So he goes over there, he sees these kids sitting on the floor with the Buddha, and he's talking. There's all these other people around. And like, he's like, what are you doing? We're like, listening to the Buddha. He's like, no, this is crazy. You don't want to be listening to this. He looks at him, and he turns, and he spits on him. He's like, you're going to have my kids over here listening to this? And the Buddha just doesn't even he's not even phased. He just keeps talking. So he spits on him again. Buddha still is not phased. Just keeps on talking. So the guy doesn't even get his kids. He just looks around, and he leaves. So he goes home, and he's sitting there, and he's like, what just happened? And it just bothered him. Here he is going through his mind, I just spit on this guy. He didn't react the way I wanted him to. I wanted him to be angry. I wanted him to be totally mad. And it just wasn't working, no matter what I did. So he's sitting there, and he's laying there in bed that night, and he's trying to think, and it's just, like I said, it's just bothering. It's eating at him. So the next day he goes back to the Buddha, and he falls at the Buddha's feet, and he says, please forgive me. I didn't know what I did. But the Buddha says, no, I can't excuse you. And everyone's like, oh man, the Buddha's not going to excuse this guy. And they were just kind of shocked because this is the Buddha. And then the Buddha looks at him and he says, why should I forgive you when you have done nothing wrong? Buddha simply says, after the businessman reminds him, he goes, well, I'm the guy that spit on you. Buddha replies, oh, that person is not here now. If I ever meet the person you spat on, I'll tell him to excuse you. To this person here, you've done nothing wrong. And this right here is, so in this story, I feel like the Buddha is saying to focus on the here and the now. What has happened in the past to him does not matter because that person is now gone and he is a different person. And that's very true. When we cling on to hate and anger, when we thrive on rumors and lies, when we want what things that we don't really need, they become these ugly layers that lay on top of us. We must learn to shed them and let go. I know personally I have a bad temper. So I'll tell you another quick story. So, me working for the school district, and in my position, I'm a community liaison, which means all eyes are on me. I participate with the community, I deal with kids, I deal with parents, I deal with teachers, you name it, I deal with it. And I'm also dealing with the discipline in the school, which means I tell students, you need to stay cool and calm. Don't get into fights. Don't be angry. So one day, I was going home. And I don't know if you've ever been to Monterey on Fremont Street. That's where all the traffic hits. So it gets really bad. And what happened is, I'm very good about not getting into the intersection when that light has been green for so long and the cars in front of you are kind of sticking out. You're like, oh, I can't go. You want to go, but you just know that the light's going to turn yellow and then red, and then people are going to be honking at you. So I'm like, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go. I'm going to do the right thing. So someone behind me, they start blaring on their horn. And I'm like, so what happens? My temper erupts. I go off. I won't repeat what I said here, but you can only imagine. So I start, waving my hands, this and that, blah, blah, blah. Person pulls up next to me, blah, blah, blah. It just becomes this ugly thing. So the next day at school, I'm standing there watching all the kids, passing from class to class. Student comes up to me, oh, Mr. David, I saw you the other day going home. I'm like, oh, really? Where's this at? And they tell me the location. I'm like, oh, this isn't going to be good. And they're like, yeah, you were in a car, and this lady started honking the horn at you, and you went like crazy. And I go, Mom, look at Mr. David. He's going nuts on that person over there. And I'm like, oh, that wasn't me. That was my twin. And I'm like, wow, how embarrassing was that? And what did it resolve? And I told my student, I'm like, you know what? I said, I was in the wrong. I said, that person behind me, maybe they were in a rush or something. Maybe they had an emergency or a bad day, and I took it out on them. That right there taught me a lesson not to cling on to hate and anger. Just let it go. I should have just brushed it off and let it go. But I didn't. And now I'm a lot more conscious. Like my daughter had warned me, Dad, you stop yelling at cars. They can't hear you with the windows rolled up. And so I just need to remember that. So when it goes back to all these things, hate, anger, rumors, lies, they just become these ugly layers that lay on top of us, like I was saying. We must learn to shed them and let them go. Yesterday is gone. Time only moves forwards, not backwards. How will you take on that next day? As the person from before with the ugliness, or the person of new? So when we come to service and we step foot inside the Hondo, we are not the same person that leaves. So no matter what you think, you are not the same person. From the time I walked in here to the time I left, I'm a different person because now I've learned more how Salinas works. I've reminded myself of these lessons that I try to tell everybody else. And all of us, when we come in here, it's just the truth. We learn something new. When we burn the incense, it's not just to go up there, we burn incense for no reason. There's a reason behind it. I remember Reverend Jay told me one time, we burn the incense because it's a symbol. You take the incense, it's one way. You burn it, it's becoming smoke, it's another. That is change. So, it's up to you. Do you want to be like the old floor in the social hall? Dark and nasty, just letting things build up over time? Not showing your true self? It doesn't have to be that way. By following the Dharma and trusting in the Amida Buddha, you can have that shine once more. Please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Please rise and join me in the Gatha, Ondoksan 2 on page 220. Do we have any announcements?
Nope. Nope.
I guess I have an announcement. On the white path, the front page dates are correct. The front page dates are correct on the white path, but the calendar on the back page is wrong. I said Botan is May 15. It's May 22. So ignore the calendar this month. Just look at the front page, please. I apologize for the error. That's it.
Thank you. Please join me in Gassho for the closing reading. The light of your face is unsurpassed in majesty. Your awesome greatness is beyond limit, a brightly shining flame with no equal. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. So that concludes this morning's service. Once again, thank you so much for allowing me to come here and to be part of the Salinas Buddhist Temple. It's really cool to come here and visit again. I will be here again next week, and then after that, I'm not sure if you look at your schedules, the calendar, it will say exactly who will be here to do service. I hope you have a great Mother's Day. I hope you just have a great day in general. It's going to be a beautiful day today. The slight chance of rain I heard in the afternoon, but that doesn't matter. It's still going to be an awesome day. So at this time, if you'd like to step forward and Shoko, please do it. Please do so at this time. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Thank you.
Safely home.
So you're going to be here?
All right, Joe, have a good Mother's Day.
David, thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.